All right, Julie, I'm so happy you're here hanging out with me today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I am I'm so excited to introduce you to all the business owners that listen to this podcast because especially with all the focus on corona and what we're doing for our families and how we're taking care of ourselves, that health is just the center of so many of our lives right now. and
Yes.
um, and there's always a lot of buzz around what's going on in the health industry and how to take care of yourself and diet this and nutrition that and so I'm really excited to share what we've talked about in the past and how you help your clients and really help them think through what makes sense for them and in their life. So thanks so much for coming on. If you want to share about your company, I'd love to start there.
Sure. My company is called Best Whole Self because my motto is it's not about being skinny, it's about being your best whole self. And that is emotional and physical health. And I absolutely do not care about the number on the scale. I actually don't even own a scale myself. I just believe in eating the most nutritionally dense foods, the foods that our bodies are made to digest and absorb the proper nutrients, and balance that though with a healthier lifestyle, such as healthy stress management, having little indulgences. Moderation is all part of being healthy as well, and just nourishing our lives with more than just food. And the reason that I developed this company and this mindset is because of my own journey with Crohn's disease. And I was at my absolute lowest weight when I was my absolute sickest. So that's why I don't think that the number on the scale necessarily equates to how healthy or unhealthy you are. So it really took a lot of soul searching and deep diving into a lifestyle change that really made me get on the road to recovery finally. I've been in remission now with my Crohn's for 4 years. And all of this too, and I'm sure you'll get into it more, but while I was going through this suffering with my illness, I was a financial advisor. And I was diagnosed with Crohn's the same year that I started my career in 2008. So I had a lot of stresses coming from my job, and I didn't handle it properly, and I didn't take the time for self-care, and my health really suffered for it. So it wasn't until I had my own kind of like rock bottom with my health that I realized there was a need for a change. And once I saw that transform in myself, I wanted to start doing that for others, and I got certified, and Best Whole Self was born 3 years ago.
I love it. Yeah. So just a little backstory, Julian. I really connected on being a financial advisor and what that world is like, and totally understanding, the stress of where you were and the company you were working for. But I think, stress. We could spend probably the next 25 minutes talking about stress, right? Especially in this time where people are working from home and helping their kids with school from home, and they
Mhm.
constantly have to be on 24 hours a day. And I think, initially working from home sounds like such a huge perk. You get to wear sweatpants at work or whatever. But the reality is people are probably working more hours than they were before, because they're helping with their kids and obviously not getting paid for that. But then how easy is it to check email and post on social media and, do all these business activities when your desk is sometimes two steps away from your bed?
Yes.
So, yeah, do you want to talk about stress a little bit and like what kind of stress tech management techniques that you use? And that'd be great.
Sure. So, speaking to your point, especially now, it's obviously different times. So these are unprecedented times, and hopefully unique in that they're not going to last forever. But it's a really good wake up call to the importance of boundaries. So if you just feel constantly compelled to be working, like you said, like 24 hours a day, essentially between your job and your kids, and then, you're going to bed late, you're getting very little sleep, you're waking up early, maybe to get those extra hours in to work before your kids get up, and it's this vicious cycle of really that's never ending. I think setting a barrier and boundaries to what you do in your day, and saying yes and no to things is really big. And that comes into stress management. I feel like we often think that it's a badge of honor to have a really full plate and be running on little sleep and, oh, I'm running on coffee and vodka at night, and all this stuff. At least that was the financial world I was in too. I think that has to stop. I think that has to change. And getting a good night's sleep not only benefits your body, your metabolism, your ability to kind of reset at night, but it makes you a better person in the morning, and it makes you a better employee or a better coach or advisor, a better parent, a better colleague. It just makes you better all the way around. So you may think that it's selfish to turn in an hour earlier at night or get a few minutes longer in the morning, but it's anything but. That is absolutely necessary. So number one, set boundaries. Number two, get your sleep. If you really, sometimes I feel like there's just not enough time in the day, and I work with my clients a lot on creating efficiency within your day and making small changes to habits and kind of filling in the times that somehow seep away, so that you could make every minute productive, and actually like schedule 15 minutes of a break so that you don't feel guilty about it, and you don't feel guilty about being on social media or, just hanging out and catching up on a few minutes of TV. So it's definitely time efficiency is a big thing that I talk with clients about, because I think we get in these situations where we don't know how to break a habit and we're just constantly bleeding one day into the next, especially these days. And it's important to really make sure that we're getting the most out of each day, but also getting the time to rest or at least decompress throughout the day as well.
Man, I'm sure time is such a huge factor in how we can take care of ourselves, if we take care of ourselves, because it all has to do with, do I have time for meal planning? Do I have time to work out? Do I have time to go to sleep on time? And so that is great that you work with your clients on that. I was listening to you describe a really stressful day, and I was thinking, she almost hit perfectly on what my day looks like. So, as
it
like
really,
as a business owner, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
I was just saying, as a business owner, there's always something to do. There's always something on your mind. You're in charge of marketing. You're in charge of sales. You're in charge. If something breaks, I fix it. This week, I've been dealing with my email that's not working. And so I'm the IT person for my company too, which is a big detriment to my company that I'm the IT person. But yeah, working on that efficiency is so important.
It really is. And kind of finding those little, like I call them time sucks, like little places where you lose like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, those add up, and they could add up to 30 minutes that you could spend, like you mentioned, meal prepping or getting in a quick workout, or, using that time to maybe work on your website that you've been putting off. And I feel like, especially as a business owner myself, I am very geared towards like, sales and content and copy, but there are little things that I have to do too that maybe, get pushed back to the back burner for a while, that just, out of necessity, they have to. But I really think that, if you look at your day and you could kind of rearrange a little bit better in like a jigsaw puzzle form, you're absolutely able to find that extra 30 minutes to do those little things that have to get done.
Yeah, awesome. That must be a huge priority in working with a lot of your clients.
Yes.
Okay, so I think when it comes to making healthy, let's say, food decisions, I think one of the ways it seems complicated, right? And I think that's one of the objections you might hear is, I don't know how to cook that way. I don't know how to shop that way. I'm not sure my kids will eat it, and there's all these objections along the way. So do you have one kind of focus area to help make it easy for that transition?
Whatever you do, make it as simple and sustainable as possible. If I see a recipe that has this many ingredients, it's just gone. I cook very simply. I am not a chef by any means. I share recipes. I will give clients recipes and things, but it's all practical, simple, clean ingredients that I turn into a healthy meal, but that does not require a lot of time money, or effort. And I think that once you simplify it, it's a lot easier uh, to digest, for lack of a better word. And I do think that, you know, if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, you could always make changes to what you're doing to still reach your desired outcome. And I think that's a big thing too. I don't believe that, you know, everything is true for everyone. So I don't think that a specific diet is like a one size fits all for everyone. It has to be accommodating for your family and for your lifestyle. So if you have young kids and you don't want to be cooking a separate meal for you and your husband and a meal for your kids, that's totally understandable. You can make one meal and just make certain like substitutions to make it more maybe kid friendly, or make something that you all enjoy. I don't think adding complications or extra steps to being healthy is the way to go. My tactic is it just has to fit in with your current lifestyle. Like, your train is going at a certain pace, and when I work with my clients, we just figure out a way to get that healthy habit in that train going at that speed. I'm not about to slow you down.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think, you know, for me, like, food is a really enjoyable thing. And it's something that I can like look forward to, right? And so sometimes that can be, I was having a conversation with a friend. I won't say who it is in case I embarrass her, but she was saying like food is one of the things during the day that I look forward to, especially during times like this where we like can't go out and go out to eat, and or ordering in is the fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in our life, it's like Groundhog Day. Our life is the same over and over again because we're not having that human interaction every day. So yeah, being able to make it easy, but also like having something that you can look forward to. Like, what are the things, exploring the things that I can really enjoy and look forward to
Mm-hmm.
eating, and I can learn to appreciate how it's affecting my body and how it feels, you know, because you're right, like I can feel myself on a day that I have a really rushed lunch. I didn't think about it at all. I'm just heating something up in the microwave or whatever, and the rest of the afternoon I'm like, I'm not sure my brain is functioning the rest of the afternoon, right?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. It's absolutely all about what I like to call high energy foods. So I always tell people we only have so much capacity to eat in a day. Like, we don't have endless amounts of food that we could consume. So if you think about just filling it with so much high energy food, so no refined sugars, or, you know, I like to flip it though. Instead of saying no, just think like, you know, complex carbs and natural sugars and proteins and whole grains. Like, if you're filling your diet with so much of that, you're going to have very little room for the indulgences. But, you know, you could still enjoy that. And I mentioned that in the beginning. Like, I am a big believer in moderation. Like, don't do anything on a scale of 1 to 10 at a 10. Like, do it at an 8. You know, you could have some wiggle room if you really, I mean, these days, like you said, they all blend in together. If you want to enjoy a glass of wine, make it a Friday or a Saturday, just so that you could really tell the difference now between a weekday and a weekend. You know, you don't need it every single night. And ordering out too, you know, just make it one night, make it a special night, because we still need that. And to be practical, you know, you're not going to eat like a complete perfect person all the time. It's just about making it a good excuse, you know, and not an emotional decision, but it's a special occasion, or it's a special night, or it's every now and then. I think that would also help for you emotionally, because I do feel like the guilt factor plays in a lot. So not only do we sometimes eat something that maybe isn't of the best quality, but then we also sabotage ourselves for, you know, hours later saying, why did I eat that? So that overall is not healthy for so many reasons. So if you're going to enjoy it, like I tell people, make it count. Like, if you're going to have a burger, make it a good one and enjoy it and eat it up. And then when it's over, be like, I am A-okay with that. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's fine. Move on, because beating yourself up over it and feeling guilty is also not helping your health either. So it's definitely, there's that emotional component in there too.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up, and I love that so much. And I'm, of course, going to compare it to how I work with my clients in finances because, one of the hardest conversations that 100% of people need to have with financial advising is budgeting and reducing expenses. I mean, everyone can use a refresh on that conversation every once in a while, but it's a dreaded conversation because they're expecting you to say, as an advisor, which a lot of advisors do, like, you should feel guilty about buying Starbucks, you should feel guilty about buying new clothes for yourself, why did you buy a new car? And now all of these money conversations are partnered with this shame and guilt, and then that bleeds into how you think about money in general and how your day-to-day interaction with money. And so yeah, I like to talk to my clients about doing things in moderation because that's how it's going to last, right? Because if I feel like I'm constantly depriving myself, I can't spend on this, I can spend on that, my budget this, my wife that, my financial advisor this, whatever the situation, you're going to feel like you're in a state of deprivation, and then you're going to want to satisfy that eventually. And so this is not a habit that would be sustainable. But if you make these little incremental changes that you feel good about, like, I'm proud of myself for changing this one thing, which a lot of people in Corona are making coffee at home. That's just an easy example. There's nothing against spending money on coffee, but a lot of people are making that small change and they're like, okay, this is something that could be sustainable perhaps. Buying different clothes, like right now, clothing industries are going out of business because no one's buying fancy clothes anymore because there's nothing to go to. But those things, this might be a good opportunity to look at that and see if that's a small change. So I'm really glad you brought up the mindset, because I'm sure that has to be a conversation you have with your clients all the time in really making these changes that are going to last a long time.
Yeah, and being a financial advisor previously, I do make a lot of the analogies with money, because it's very similar in like planning for your health long term, planning for your finances long term. They all kind of coincide, and if one is suffering, chances are the other one's suffering. And I do feel like, if you're withholding, like you said, you go into a state of deprivation, then you almost like you binge, and you're just like, but then you just go on like a shopping spree, or you just like eat like whatever you want for a whole week straight. And I think if you were to have the overall mentality, like, back to making it count, I'm not saying like, and I'm sure you're not either, like, to go blow your money at a casino or something, but if you really want something and it's something that you thought about and it's not an everyday thing, by all means get it and enjoy it. And I believe the same way. And from a health standpoint, getting a coffee, if you're going to get a cappuccino over just the regular coffee or tea, make it count. Don't make it every day. And just be okay with it, and I like to tell people, just pause too. If you pause before you make this decision, because a lot of things that we do, and very similar to financial decisions, is emotional. So if you are like, I'm having this terrible day, I'm just going to open the bottle of wine and not stop, just pause and think, okay, what is this bottle of wine going to do for my problem? Is it going to solve it? Chances are it's not. What is going to be the outcome? Can I satisfy this in a different way? And I use the acronym being BAD. So B is for, just like being spontaneous, A is acting out, and D is doing something fun. So if you're bad, you're kind of, rebelling in a way, but it doesn't have to revolve around food or drink. And it's the same financially too. If you're just like, I've had this awful day, I'm just, going to go buy myself this pair of shoes, maybe there's a better way to solve this problem or to deal with these emotions than, kind of making an impulse decision. So I always like for people to kind of pause, assess why they're doing it. And if 10 minutes later, it's still a good idea to them, then go for it. At least you thought it through.
Yeah. You're really a counselor, like changing your cognitive thoughts before you act out. That's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, that's honestly the big change that people are going to see in the difference between a diet, a diet and a lifestyle change and being healthy, because it's when you change those triggers or you adapt to those triggers to a different solution is when you're really going to see the outcome be positive.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, because there's so many ways that we can numb ourselves. And I think you and I represent two of those kinds of industries, but there's so many more that people use to numb the emotions, handle what happened at work, handle feeling bad about what they did. And so, a lot of the work from both of our perspectives when it comes to money and health and really changing whatever your goal is, whatever your lifestyle decision is. And sometimes it's money, sometimes it's health, sometimes it's both. A lot of times it's both. It really starts here, and recognizing what's happening, what's triggering that thing to happen. Sometimes with money, it's I I work really hard, so I deserve this thing, and I'm rewarding myself with this thing, and I want to make sure that people know that I work really hard and know that I'm successful. So you're kind of buffering up that, like, trying to get respect and success that way. Sometimes it's, what was my other example? Sometimes it's, like your example, I feel bad about what happened today, and I'm going to buy this thing, and like that immediate joy that you get from buying something is going to make me forget for a moment that I had a really, excuse my language, shitty day. And I think when we can start recognizing those triggers, you're absolutely right that it can be totally life-changing. But sometimes you don't realize that, well, I thought I just wanted those shoes. Well, you wanted those shoes because the shoes make you feel a certain way, which you can relate to. Shoes can make you feel a certain way. Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with shoe buying. We are not anti-shoes. It's just, why are you buying the shoes? That's what I always tell people. I don't care that you're eating cake. Why are you eating cake? Is it to mend a broken heart, or is it to celebrate a birthday? It's two very different things.
Mm-hmm. And then really enjoy that birthday. I really like that. Eat the cake slow, enjoy the taste, make it really a worth it experience. I love that.
Yep.
Okay, I know you have your own success story. You completely changed your life, but do you have another success story from like a client you'd like to share?
Yes. So I was working with a client. We worked together. So just to preface this, so I work with clients in 4, 6, and 8 week periods, and then they have the option to do maintenance, which is typically we touch base like once a month, however long they want. So I worked with this particular client for about 6 months total. And when she came to me, she had, and I work with a lot of clients who have digestive issues, and she just had terrible digestive issues. And when you have digestive issues, that is a chain reaction through your entire body, since 80% of your serotonin, which is, what makes you happy and function and think properly, all that is in your brain. 80% of it comes from your gut. So if your gut is out of whack, that totally affects everything else. So she came to me with having serious stomach issues, and she had no energy, and her son was getting married in the year. So she, of course, wanted to lose a little bit of weight, but that was not her primary thing. It was, I just can't eat anything. She said she just felt like her life stopped. Mm-hmm. So we started at the top of her day and just kind of worked through her food log. And the first thing that went, she was drinking 32 ounces of coffee a day, because she was so exhausted because she didn't sleep well at night, and then she was tired in the day, and the vicious cycle continues, and the only way she knew to stay awake was coffee. But caffeine is a huge irritant to the digestive system, so that then was kind of triggering that. And then if you have digestive issues, you are not properly absorbing and metabolizing key nutrients like iron and vitamin B12 and vitamin D that give us our energy. So she just kind of was stuck in this vicious cycle. And we started with the coffee, and that led to, small changes in her diet. And she still drinks, 8 to 12 ounces a day of coffee. It's not like we completely eliminated it, but she kind of was just in that habit. And by changing the habit of drinking that much coffee, she was able then to see that, okay, this is making an impact. Let's go even further. Let's go down from 20 to 16. We kept working down. And then that led to developing better sleep habits. And then the better sleep habits meant she was more awake and didn't have to rely on the caffeine. And of course, reducing caffeine, her stomach felt so much better day in and day out. She and her husband started traveling again, doing road trips. She said she couldn't do that anymore because she was worried she'd be sick. And essentially, she got her life back. And this is by making one small change. And back to, you know, the whole like efficiency and kind of changing the mentality of it, you know, for the change in the outcome, we just had to start at this point of, okay, like if you're just cut out caffeine and let's go from there. And that led to more energy, better sleep, and then a better diet that she was able to retain, of course, and that led to a better immune system too, and more energy. So it was just one thing that kind of just kept building upon the other. And she dropped a few pounds just because she was now getting active again and she was eating better, you know, not just because she had more energy to actually cook at home. So it was this amazing ripple effect that she had. And then when she went dress shopping for her son's wedding, she was elated that she was a smaller size than she thought. And it was just wonderful. And out of all of that, you know, it was great to have her have better digestion and not have stomach issues and fit into that dress. But the best thing was when she said that I gave her her life back. And I think that's something that a lot of us have lost at one point or another due to not feeling well, or maybe being absorbed by our jobs or our kids or something. And we never take a step back to focus on us. And once we do, we're able to get back a piece of us that may have been lost along the way. So that was one of my favorite stories, just seeing how, I mean, this was only in it was less than 6 months, you know, that you really start to see the change. And we had a really great relationship to get to this point of how well she is.
Wow, that's awesome. And I'm sure maybe before she was working with you, it was hard for her to imagine what kind of changes she should or could make. And having that outside perspective, I mean, maybe you even made that suggestion as one of the first things you saw right away, but having that outside perspective, because again, like money and health, when you're looking at your own money, you're looking at your own health, we can be so judgmental about what we're experiencing and what we're going through. And there's so much emotion that's going along with it. That sometimes it's so helpful to have that outside perspective, just a check-in, like, I know something's wrong here, something's out of alignment, I'm having a lot of guilt and shame about this, it's not where I want it to be, and can I just have a check-in and see like what your perspective is? I think it's immensely valuable. Of course, I think it's valuable. That's what I do for people every day.
I agree. I do think too that, you know, having an unbiased person kind of looking at things more from like a bird's eye perspective and seeing things, because when you're in it, you can't really assess, and you start to skew your sense of normalcy, that you think that it's normal to only get 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night and then have to drink that much coffee. And then, I mean, I know myself and a lot of people who I work with feel like, you know, it's normal that you eat a meal and your stomach immediately is bloated. Like you just think, oh, doesn't everyone feel like that after they eat? And it's not. But once you do it for long enough, you just think that's the norm. And if you don't know where to begin, or you think you've tried it all and you're feeling stuck, that is where someone else, like a professional, could come in and just kind of reevaluate and you know, get you off of that vicious cycle so that you could start living a life that you probably didn't even realize you were missing.
Yeah, that's a great point. You mean not everyone has to use the bathroom right after they eat every meal?
Yep.
There's probably so many of those assumptions that are rolling around in everyone's brain that we never say out loud, because who wants to talk about that? But
Yes, that was absolutely me. I was like, oh, like, you know, I couldn't eat breakfast at home and then go to work because I thought, oh, well, like, of course, you know, because I'm going to have to go to the bathroom before I get there. And I'm sure so many people think that way. They think like, oh, I can't grab and go with my lunch because I need a bathroom nearby. And it doesn't have to be like that. So if you're feeling like that, don't worry. I've been there, and there's definitely a way to stop that. And it's just, you don't have to live like that. You absolutely do not have to.
Well, awesome. I think we're probably going to wrap up, but that is so encouraging. And do you want to highlight some of your packages? I know you said you have a variety of them, and we can send a link to a web page or put up a document or something so everyone has access to it. But you want to remind us of how
Sure.
we can work with you?
Sure. So I offer a 30-minute complimentary call to anyone who is looking for any type of health information or just have a question. It could be a consultation, whatever. So that's available on my website. And I work with clients one-on-one, as I mentioned, in 4, 6, and 8 weeks at a time. And it's, of course, through Zoom, and it's virtual. And I also, though, if you're someone who's thinking, okay, I don't need something really hands-on, I'm pretty good on my own. I offer self-guided courses, and that's also on my website. So that's anywhere between 7 days to 30 days. That is something that you could follow along through daily emails, and you really get an opportunity to follow along a little bit. And then the option is always there to contact me if you need additional help or if you have specific questions. I think that, you know, there are those people out there who kind of just need like a reset, and that's what the self-guided programs are specifically for. Someone who just needs to kind of clean the slate and start fresh, and they could very well do it. They're committed. But if you need that extra accountability factor, or you have a little more complication going on than just, oh, I just need to eliminate, you know, sugar out of my diet, then I'd definitely be happy to talk with you and see how we could make little adjustments to your lifestyle to get you feeling and looking, of course, your best.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. So I wrote down the self-guided and the one-to-one coaching. So we'll be putting that all over Paradigm site so you guys can find all of her information. And if you want to comment below or put a question here, I'll make sure that Julie gets it, so that she knows that you're interested. But I love your approach. I love that you really try to make it easy and accessible. There's no shame and guilt that comes with it. It's just practical, unbiased advice,
Yeah.
and that's absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for coming and sharing today, and really from your personal experience, first of all, in the financial industry, which I think is so awesome. And second of all, as a business owner yourself, how you integrate this into your life. You've been there, you have these experiences to draw from, and I can just see how incredibly valuable your help is. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Abby. It's great seeing you.
You too. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.